Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Skeens, and I'd like to welcome you to the February 16th, 2026 meeting of the Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission. If the other commissioners would introduce themselves, starting on my right, please.
Stu Nichols.
Betty Turner.
Catherine Magid.
Warshay Downing.
Erica Glass.
Paul Zaguma Sr.
We are waiting for one other commissioner to attend, but we will proceed. Please note that this meeting is being conducted in person and online. If anyone participating online needs help with Zoom, please email Luke Carter at lucas.carter@greensboro-nc.gov. Members of the commission are appointed by the City Council, and we serve without pay. The Commission reviews all original zoning annexation cases and rezoning requests for the City of Greensboro, and each commissioner normally visits each site prior to this meeting. The procedure that will be used for all of our public hearings is as follows. Planning staff will present the background information and make a recommendation. The applicant will then present a short summary on how he or she communicated with the neighborhood and why the request is reasonable. Other persons in favor of the request may speak for a total of 10 minutes. This time is shared with the applicant. Speakers opposed to the request will then share 10 minutes of speaking time. Those in favor of the request will share 5 minutes of rebuttal time, and those in opposition to the request will then have 5 minutes of rebuttal time. Speakers for non-related zoning issues, like tonight we have a text amendment that will each speaker will be granted 3 minutes of speaking time. At the end of the speaking time, we'll close the public hearing. Any commissioner may ask questions once a presenter has completed their presentation, and all commissioners are required to vote unless they have a conflict of interest. In an effort to run the meetings more efficiently, the Commission may reorganize the meeting agenda. Cases in which no opposition has been expressed to the Planning Department or in which no speakers have signed up to speak in opposition, the Commission and the Commission members do not feel it necessitates an in-depth discussion. Those items will be moved to the top of the agenda. Staff will provide a shortened presentation for those cases, expedited cases, and applicants, if desired, will have 2 minutes to address the Commission to provide any additional information they want the Commission to know. Expedited cases will then follow the procedures outlined previously. When speaking here tonight, please direct all questions and comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission, not to staff. The Commission will ask staff to comment on questions if necessary. When a case is called that you are interested in, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If you are participating online, please find and use the raise hand function under the reaction button. You'll be called upon to speak in the order in which the hands were raised. All approved or denied cases receiving 6 or more votes will constitute final action unless an appeal is submitted in writing to the Planning Department. The appeal fee is paid within 10 days. All cases receiving a majority of favorable votes but less than 6 will be subject to a public hearing by the City Council. All cases involving an annexation are also subject to final approval by City Council. Participants in the Zoom meeting will be able to view the meeting and speak when they are called upon. This meeting is being recorded and televised on Greensboro Television Network. Now we will hear from our attorney. 1 second, please. We've just heard, that'll be the next item. Okay, now we'll hear from our attorney regarding additional items we need to consider.
Thank you, Chair Skeens, and good evening, everyone. Much of the Commission's work this evening is going to relate to rezoning applications. I'd like to remind everyone who's attending that when the Commission considers these rezoning applications, it makes determinations based on the land uses that are allowed within the zoning district that's been put forth in the application, as well as any conditions that have been proposed by the applicant. These decisions take broad policy questions into account, and those are summarized by the factors outlined in the reasonableness statement that you'll hear read when the commissioners make a motion on the individual items. Now, land use impacts on public infrastructure are relevant in rezoning matters, and it's important to know that the commission is not here to determine all details of a development. That's a process that involves staff input and evaluation going beyond the scope of the commission's work. If a rezoning would generate a certain amount of traffic flow, the commissioners will have been provided with a summary traffic impact study. Meanwhile, many site-specific development features, such as the means of management of stormwater, are evaluated through the Technical Review Committee rather than here in this forum. Lastly, concerns that are not related to land use are not germane to the Commission's consideration of rezoning applications. For example, generalized concerns about crime rates, questions about who may own, live at, work at, use a given property that is up for rezoning. Those are not for the Commission's consideration. If anyone has questions about matters that are not addressed here this evening, those may be referred to the Planning Department or the city's technical staff as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to acknowledge absences, Keith Peterson will not be with us this evening, and Ted Oliver is out of town and will not be here. So we have everyone who's going to be here is here. We have the minutes from the January 21st meeting. We need approval or corrections on those.
Move to approve the minutes from January 21st.
Stu Nichols, I second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Gilmer and multiple seconds to approve the meeting's minutes from January. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous. Do we have any withdrawals or continuances?
No, ma'am, we do not. And I would note that at this point, we are not aware of any opposition to any cases on the agenda this evening.
So everything will be expedited and we will take the agenda in order.
Yes, unless there is someone here in the audience that did not sign in or online.
Okay. Well, our first case is Z-26-02-001. This is a rezoning request from CDO, Conditional District Office, to CDO, Conditional District Office, for the property identified as 2210 East Cone Boulevard, generally described as south of East Cone Boulevard and east of 16th Street, 6.51 acres. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Chair Skeens. This is the zoning map showing that the subject property contains approximately 6.51 acres and is located south of East Cone Boulevard and east of 16th Street. This is a rezoning request from CDO, Conditional District Office, to CDO, and the request is to modify condition, adding 10,000 square feet available to the building coverage. North of the request is zone R3, residential single family 3, and RM 18, residential multifamily 18. East and south of the request are zone R3. West of the request is zone LI. The aerial map shows that subject property currently contains an office use. North of the request contains a religious assembly and undeveloped land. East and south of the request contain undeveloped land. And west of the request contains indoor recreation and undeveloped land. This is the modified condition that was requested by the applicant and advertised associated with the request. And in recommending approval of the request, staff noted that the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future built form map currently designates the property as urban central and as residential on the future land use map. The proposed rezoning request supports the comprehensive plan's filling in our framework goal, where people choose to live in Greensboro because every neighborhood is safe and has convenient access to first-rate schools, services, shopping, parks, and community facilities. It also supports the comprehensive plan's growing economic competitiveness big idea to build a prosperous, resilient economy that creates equitable opportunities to succeed. And staff noted that the proposed CDO zoning designation as conditioned would allow a mix of office and professional service uses that are compatible with nearby residential uses. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Nelson? Seeing none, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak? I understand the applicant is online.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right. Would you like to make any comments on the case?
Yes, so hello, thank you, good evening. We did occupy the land, and the existing school that was on here was converted into administrative
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we get you to
offices.
state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, we need your
Real
name
quick.
and address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Just
we
need you
need-
to state your name
Oh,
for the record,
sorry.
please. Yeah.
Hi, yes, and so when we originally made the purchase at that time, the condition was put on there that the future site
All right,
of the
I'm
clinic
sorry.
could not exceed
I've
the
got your
existing
name.
square footage.
I've got your name.
And so now that we are here and we're looking to start the planning of a new facility, we were just requesting additional space so that we could allow for medical, behavioral health, and dental services in that new clinic. And so that's the request, is just to increase that square footage so that we can increase the services we'd be able to offer.
Okay. Ms. Cole, would you please give us your address so we'll have that for the record?
I'm Danielle Cole, and I'm Chief Finance and Business Development Officer at Triad Adult and Pediatric Medicine, who is the applicant.
Your address is what we need. Your home address, office address. We need an address for the record.
I've just sent Ms. Cole a message. We are having some audio trouble online in the Zoom meeting. We can hear you very well through the podium speakers, but not well through your speakers. So we're trying to figure out how to get that. Ms. Cole stated earlier that she could hear you, so that's why we've been moving forward with that. But she is, Ms. Cole, if you can hear me, can you just state for the record your name and address?
I put it in the chat. 2210 East Cone Boulevard.
Okay. We'll use that. Okay. Any questions of Ms. Cole? And we need the clock started for the next. It doesn't matter now, but for the next case, we'd like the clock to be running. Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this case?
No, but I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chair.
All right, if not, we'll close the public hearing.
All right, perfect. Madam Chair, I'm making a motion for agenda item number Z2602001, 2210 East Cone Boulevard. The Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission believes that its action to recommend approval of the rezoning request for the property at 2210 East Cone Boulevard from CDO Conditional District Office to CDO Conditional District Office to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. Number one, the request is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan's future built form map and future land use map. Number two, the proposed CDO zoning district as condition permits uses that fit the context of the surrounding areas and limits negative impact on adjacent properties. Number three, the request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in public interest.
Commissioner Gilmer, second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Downing and a second from Mr. Gilmer to approve the request. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously 7-0. The next expedited case is going to be item Z-26-02-002, a rezoning request from CDCH Conditional District Commercial High to CDCH Conditional District Commercial High for the property described as 3215 Brassfield Road, generally described as south of Brassfield Road and west of Battleground Avenue, 16.08 acres.
Thank you, Chair Skanes. This is the zoning map showing that the subject property is approximately 16.08 acres and is located south of Brassfield Road and west of Battleground Avenue. This is, as you stated, a rezoning request from CDCH, Conditional District Commercial High, to CDCH. North of the request is zone CDRM 18, Conditional District Residential Multifamily 18. East of the request is zone CH, Commercial High. South of the request is zone CDCH, and west of the request is zoned office. The area map shows that the subject property currently contains retail sales and service use. North of the request contains multifamily dwellings. East of the request contains a shopping center and cinema. South of the request contains undeveloped land. And west of the request contains an office park, including veterinary office and multi-tenant office buildings. These are the conditions that were proposed by the applicant and advertised associated with the request. And in recommending approval of the request, staff noted that the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future land use map indicates this property as being within the New Garden Road Strategic Plan, which designates this property as mixed-use commercial. The Comprehensive Plan's future built form map currently designates the property as urban general on the edge of a district-scaled activity center. The proposed rezoning request supports the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan's Creating Great Places goal to protect and enhance the unique character of every neighborhood, and the growing economic competitiveness goal to promote homegrown businesses, support entrepreneurship, cultivate industry leaders, and welcome major corporations and institutions. And staff know that the proposed CDCH zoning district limits uses to those in the retail sales and service uses type. The proposed CDCH request, as conditioned, maintains uses currently present on the property that are of an appropriate scale, intensity, and offsite or offsite impact for development along a major thoroughfare. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Nelson? Would the applicant like to speak? You have 2 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Just for the record, my name is Mark Isaacson. I'm at 804 Green Valley Road in Greensboro, here on behalf of the applicant for this and the next item on this agenda, the same property owner for both. Just an overview, this is to update the conditions for the large commercial retail parcel that you saw occupied by Home Depot under a long-term ground lease. The next item is to allow townhomes to be built immediately next to that Home Depot site with the same property owner. So available to answer any question. We did send out a letter to property owners within the radius of each property and received one call just asking what was going on. We had a neighborhood meeting, and we're not aware of any concerns or opposition to these two items. Thank you for your consideration.
Any questions of Mr. Isaacson? Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this case? Since we had no opposition, we will close the public hearing and open for discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, regarding item Z 2602002. The Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission believes that its action to recommend approval of the rezoning request for the property 3215 Brassfield Road from CDCH, Conditional District Commercial High, to CDCH, Conditional District Commercial High, to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. 1, the request is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan's future built form map and the future land use map. The proposed CDCH zoning district, as conditioned, permits uses that fit the context of the surrounding area and limits negative impacts on adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Stu Nichols, I second.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Turner and who?
Mr. Nichols, I think, was second.
Mr. Nichols, second. Okay, a motion in favor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
That passes 7-0, which is a unanimous vote. Our next case. I don't have to. Not that I'm aware. The question has come up as to whether or not we should say it's final action. Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't do that on the first case either,
Yeah,
did I?
good point. Final action unless appealed. Yes.
Well, I need that information first. I can't find that little piece of paper. Nope. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, this constitutes a final action. Unless an appeal is submitted in writing to the planning department, an appeal fee is paid within 10 days. Anyone may file such an appeal. All such appeals will be subject to public hearing at the Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 City Council meeting, and all adjoining property owners will be notified of such appeal. And that particular statement is also true for the first case on East Cone Boulevard. So we've got that. Make sure everyone understands the process. On the next case, which is Z-26-02-003, this is a rezoning request from CDCH, Conditional District Commercial High, to CDRM 12, Conditional District Residential Multifamily 12, for the property identified as 3706 Richfield Road, generally described as north of Richfield Road and west of New Garden Road, 2.63 acres.
Thank you, Chair Skanes. This is the zoning map showing the subject property contains approximately 2.63 acres and is located north of Richfield Road and west of New Garden Road. This is a rezoning request from CDCH, Conditional District Commercial High, to CDRM 12, Conditional District Residential Multifamily 12. North of the request is currently zoned CDCH. East of the request is zoned CH, Commercial High. South of the request is zoned CDCM, Conditional District Commercial Medium. And west of the request is zoned Office. The aerial map shows that subject property currently contains undeveloped land. North of the request contains retail sales and service use. East of the request contains a cinema. South of the request contains a religious assembly use and counseling office, and west of the request contains a rehabilitation center. These are the conditions proposed by the applicant. And to recommend approval of the request, staff know that the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future built form map currently designates this property as urban general on the edge of a district-scale activity center, and that the Comprehensive Plan's future land use map indicates that this property is also within the New Garden Road strategic plan and is designated as mixed-use commercial. The proposed rezoning request supports both the Comprehensive Plan's Creating Great Places goal to expand Greensboro's citywide network of unique neighborhoods, offering residents of all walks of life a variety of quality housing choices, and the Building Community Connections goal to maintain stable, attractive, and healthy places to live and raise families. Staff noted that the requested CDRM 12 zoning district, as conditioned, would limit uses to a maximum of 24 residential homes, and that the proposed uses are compatible with the mix of uses in the surrounding area, and that the change in zoning for this property is also appropriate given its location in proximity to a major thoroughfare. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Nelson? Don't see any. Would the applicant like to speak? Is that a yes or a no? Okay. Same thing you said last time. Okay.
I just had one question.
Certainly.
The lot seemed very rectangular, very narrow in height. So it meets the 15-foot criteria, with an RM12.
What is the 15-foot? What are you referring to?
It's the interior setback or the
setback.
The setback.
Yeah, I think they've already looked at that to see if it's generally viable. That will actually be addressed ultimately at site plan review. So they're just getting use rights right now.
Okay.
Ends up being a TRC, I think.
Yeah, concern. Just look very narrow. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? And since there wasn't any opposition, we will close the public hearing and open the floor to comments and/or motions.
I move that in regards to item Z-26-02-003, the Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission believes its action to recommend approval of the rezoning request for the property at 3706 Richfield Road from CDCH Conditional District Commercial High to CDRM 12 Conditional District Residential Multifamily 12 to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan's future built form map and future land use map, the proposed CDRM 12 zoning district as conditioned permits uses that fit the context of the surrounding area and limits the negative impact on adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Second, Warshay Downing.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Nichols and a second by Commissioner Downing. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
All right, that passes 7-0. It's unanimous. This approval constitutes a final action unless an appeal is submitted in writing to the Planning Department, and the appeal fee is paid within 10 days. Anyone may file such appeal. All such appeals will be subject to a public hearing at the Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 City Council meeting, and all adjoining property owners will be notified of any such appeal. The next item on the agenda is a text amendment. Mr. Kirkman.
Yes, thank you, Chair Skeens. So the request before the Commission this evening is to amend several sections of the Land Development Ordinance to add a new use to the permitted use table, to provide a clear definition for that use, and then also to add development standards for that use. So the use itself is to be called Secure Detention and Custodial Facility, which will be part of our public and civic uses under our governmental facilities use group. As you've seen in the memo attached, there's a definition that speaks to what that use is. Sorry for all the text on here, but there's a lot of verbiage here, but basically getting to questions about this being a process that can be done in a variety of spaces and that's designed to be more temporary in nature, which is to some degree to try to create a separate distinction between the correctional facilities, prisons that are in the ordinance now that are listed as part of our governmental facility uses, but don't really have a clear definition to make a distinction on that. So that's the purpose of the definitions here. So basically how this will work, as you see here, we have broad governmental uses that are allowed in all zoning districts. There are correctional institutions, that again includes prisons, that are allowed in certain districts with special use permits, and then this additional use would be added, secure detention and custodial facility, also requiring a special use permit and limited to certain districts in the city of Greensboro. So there are, as I said, development standards that will go with this use on there. So those are on the screen and was also in the memo provided to you with separation requirements from different existing uses in the city. Again, the special use permit has a standard as well. It talked about occupancy, 24-hour on-site security, and then if there needs to be changes with that, to have to come back through the special use permit process. So that's the basics of what this request is before you this evening. I think as we noted in the memo to the Commission, Council has elected to use our waiver of procedure so that the Commission will be having a hearing this evening, taking their action, and then City Council will have a hearing tomorrow evening. Both hearings have been publicly advertised as required under state statute and the Land Development Ordinance. So I can answer your questions.
Any questions of staff on the text amendment?
I have just a question for clarification. I didn't understand how the notice provisions were met, and I was going to ask, I have heard already, but I would like to have it in the record of why
Sure.
they met.
And I will let Attorney Ducharme probably talk to it more. There is a waiver of procedure in the land development ordinance that allows us to go to a different measure of state statute for notification purposes, but I'll let the attorney speak from there.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. So just I'm going to talk about state law a little bit and the ordinance and kind of tie it together. So state statute discusses ordinance text amendments and the process for that, right? The requirement for the governing board, that would be City Council, to hold a legislative hearing following published notice is listed out in state statute at Chapter 160D-601, subsection A. So again, published notice ahead of a legislative hearing at City Council. Now, there's no mention of the commission in that statutory provision, and that makes sense broadly, right? Given the fact that text amendments are always going to be final action by City Council, and planning commissions around the state, right, are just sitting to review proposed amendments and forward their comments on those amendments to City Council. Now, in our ordinance, it does call for items broadly that go in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission to be advertised as well. And that also kind of makes sense in context because, this commission does have a pretty unique power in having final authority over rezonings, right? So there are often times where the commission is sort of standing in the shoes of the governing board because it could take final action on a rezoning. So having the published notice piece baked into our ordinance makes sense in that context. But also in our ordinance, there is a provision that Mike referenced that allows for the waiver of ordinance-based procedures. It basically says you can fall back on process that is compliant with state law. So tying that together, the requirement for published notice is purely ordinance-driven for us. Given our waiver of procedure provision in the ordinance, the published notice ahead of this hearing, ahead of tonight, is something that fits squarely within what can be waived while still complying with state law. As Mike mentioned, the published notice that did go out was sent far enough in advance to still meet that threshold ahead of the council meeting, and it was drafted to go ahead and make reference to the fact that the item would be here for review this evening in front of the commission as well. Just so all the information was on the table. Glad to provide any follow-up context I can. But.
So it was placed in the newspaper for how many days before? How many days?
It's right there at we were 10
yes,
days.
Just like normal process where you have 2 consecutive weeks of advertising, with the first advertising being no closer than 10 days, no further than 25 days. So it meant that 10 to 25 days for the first advertising, and then the subsequent week was advertised according to state law.
Perfect. I just had a question about the 2,500 feet. I'm a very visual person, so I'm trying to get an idea of how far that is in miles.
So just under half a mile, and again, as I noted in the email you had asked earlier about that, the distance is measured property line to property line. So it would be the edge of whatever property is being considered for the use to the to the edge of properties that have residential zoning, school, parks, et cetera on there. So it's not facility to facility, it's property line to property line.
Thank you. I just wanted it in the record.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any other questions? Seeing none, and we did not have anyone sign up to speak. This is still a public hearing, so we will close the public hearing for discussion. And
if you'd
and
like to make a
vote,
motion, it's on the screen. Yep.
And this will be a recommendation. Anybody volunteering?
Well, I just had one other question. So the special permits are only, I see in 3 categories, the HI, the PI, or the C-B.
Right. Those
Correct.
are the 3 zoning districts where the use will be allowed with a special use permit.
Okay. So an existing, like an R3, in some situations, those would be included with that a special permit. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out
Right. So yeah.
any
so
other
Right, and a special use permit is something that is currently reviewed by the Board of Adjustment, so it's a little bit different than what the commission is dealing with. But it's basically an additional layer of conversation, saying that a use may or may not be appropriate in a certain location, but there needs to be a fuller discussion about that. That's what the special use permit's getting to on there, that it might fit the context, but we need to have a fuller discussion, and those are done through quasi-judicial proceedings. That's why it goes through the Board of Adjustment. So effectively, the base zoning would have to be in place first, either HI, PI, or CB, and if that's in place, then they would go to the Board of Adjustment and seek the special use permit on there. The city would only grant the special use permit if it meets all the development standards and in any other conditions of the permit during the hearing process. So it's not an exemption from anything else out there. It's just saying basically this additional conversation is necessary.
Thank you for adding all these additional conditions. Sure. They're really excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We've closed the public hearing, so now we're open for a motion.
Can I make the motion?
Of course.
Okay. Regarding PLP 26-01, the zoning planning development text amendment, amending section 30-8-1, table 8-1, permitted use table, section 30-8-6.6, governmental facilities, section 30-8-10.2, public and civic use standards, and section 30-15-18, terms beginning with S of the land development ordinance relating to adding a secured detention and custodial facility use.
And since this is a ordinance text amendment, we do need to speak to how it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's on the screen if you want to reference that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. One, the request is consistent with allowing development that supports the comprehensive plan's future build format and land use map. The text amendment supports supports the filing of our framework and the creating great places, big ideas of the GSO 2040 Cities Comprehensive Plan. The request is reasonable due to the fact that the proposed amendment provides administrative clarity for medical office uses.
And that should say, secure detention and facility uses. I apologize.
Security detention and custodial facilities and other factors raised at the public hearing, if applicable.
Approving.
It's a motion to approve.
Commissioner Gilmer, seconds.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Maggot and a second by Mr. Gilmer to favorably recommend the text amendment. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Again, unanimous, 7-0. And this constitutes a favorable recommendation and is subject to a public hearing at the Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. That completes our agenda. Any items from the planning department?
We don't have anything specific. We have 8 items right now on the March Planning and Zoning Commission agenda.
8? Okay. Any items from the commission? Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? All right. We have a motion.
So moved.
In a second. All right. We are done.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have a new record.
Shortest meeting on record. Thank
Yep.
you, Madam Chair.
Well, 3 expedited.
Thank you, staff.